After the Democratic Convention, John Kerry's Vietnam naval record becomes a controversial matter in the race for the presidency. But with the level of rancor so intense, few have been able to discern what truly happened during the candidate's years of service. Hello and welcome. I'm Jackie Schechner, and this is Kuma War. During the Vietnam War, U.S. soldiers not only trudged through the jungles to engage the North Vietnamese on land, but also maneuvered through the tight and dangerous rivers of the Mekong Delta, minesweeping, cutting off supply routes, and transporting friendly Vietnamese and U.S. troops to bring the fight to the enemy. Today's mission is a recreation of the firefight, for which then-Lieutenant Junior Grade John Kerry was awarded a Silver Star. We are honored to have with us today Thomas Forrest, member of the Swiftboat Sailors Association. He served 3 tours of duty in Vietnam, where he completed 155 combat patrols and took part in 18 Sea Lords raids. He and John Kerry were in country at the same time, and Mr. Forrest will help us better understand the role of PCFs and the riverine warfare phase of the Vietnam War.
Hi, Jackie.
And then we'll talk to Dante Anderson, Kuma's head of product development, about what you can expect in our playable, immersive 3D recreation of John Kerry's mission in Vietnam.
Hi, Jax.
Let's begin. February 28, 1969. Lieutenant Junior Grade John Kerry commands one of 3 swift boats, PCF-23, PCF-94, and PCF-43, on a sweep up the Dong Quang, a narrow tributary of the Bay Hap River. Anticipating an ambush, Kerry and his fellow boat commanders devise a plan. They encounter heavy small arms fire, and 3 PCFs turn 90 degrees and head directly toward the riverbank, aiming the boat's 50 caliber machine guns at the attackers. They kill 3. The boats hit the shore, and the troops jump off. They kill about 6 Viet Cong, capture others, and start a sweep to find weapons and other supplies. Kerry then orders his boat and one other to head upstream, where they are ambushed again. They make the same hard turn and flip the second attack. Kerry and a crew member leap off the boat. Kerry chases a Viet Cong assailant behind a thatched hut 15 yards inland and kills him. We have the unique opportunity and the distinct honor today to be joined by Thomas Forrest, a member of the Swiftboat Sailors Association. He served 3 tours of duty in Vietnam, serving on board PCFs 28, 54, 98, and 102, where he took care of the boat's radios, manned the bow M60 machine gun, and was the boat corpsman. During his service, he earned more than 20 awards, including the Navy Commendation Medal with V and 2 Presidential Unit citations. Since the war, Mr. Forrest has been a director for the Bucks County Vietnam Memorial and a fundraiser for the Philadelphia Vietnam Memorial. He is currently working on the construction of the Navy U.S. Coast Guard Memorial and Small Boat Display in Coronado, California. Mr. Forrest, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
First, what is a swift boat, and what was it like to be on one?
Well, swift boats were a 50-foot boat that the Navy had built to interdict supplies coming down from North Vietnam along the coastal waterways. They were manned by 6-man crews, heavily armed, and basically it was home.
How many swift boats and sailors were part of the riverine war effort?
In total, there were 104 boats were made. Men-wise, there were about 3,000 that served on the boats between 1965 and 1970.
What were the primary swift boat missions in Vietnam?
In the beginning, the primary mission was to interdict waterborne craft bringing in arms and supplies from North Vietnam. Later on, when Admiral Elmo Zumwalt became ComNav 4V, we went on the offensive and went into the rivers and canals and hunted down enemy bivouac areas, bunker complexes, storage areas, captured weapons.
What type of enemy engagement could a Swiftie expect to encounter in Vietnam?
When we went into Sea Lords, everything changed. It got from being tranquil and quiet at times and even boring into being in hell almost. Because the firefights themselves, I mean, we were getting hit with B-40s, heavy machine guns, small arms fire, and they were dug in. So they called the shots. When they were going to hit us, they would open up, and then we would have to react to that.
What were the waterways like?
Well, you could compare a lot of them to the streets in the cities you live in, you know. Some of the rivers were as wide as an interstate highway. The deeper you got in and the narrower they became. When we got into these canals, Some of them were wide enough to turn our boats around, and a lot of them were not. We would have to continue probing until we found another canal where we could back the boat into another canal to swing it around to come back out of that canal.
What John Kerry did that day, turning towards the shore and heading directly at the ambush, was a new tactic that then became a standard for swift boats. Can you explain what he did and why it was so successful?
When those guys were ambushed in that river, generally you either have your port side or your starboard side exposed to enemy fire, which is a 50-foot section of your boat. The two back men on the back of the boat are always exposed. There's no armor there or anything like that. What transpired is this was pre-planned, and when they were attacked and they swung 90 degrees and went into their enemy, had them bear down with their twin 50 caliber machine guns and their M60 machine gun into the target area. At the same time, narrowed the target angle of the boat, which gives them even less to shoot at and protects the people on the back of the boat. It was an operation that I believe was well organized, and even was put into use later on by other boats after that particular point in time.
Mr. Forrest, thank you. Now let's turn to Dante Anderson, Kuma's head of product development, and talk about what you will experience in our playable recreation of this swift boat mission.
Hi, Jax.
Hi, Dante. We're heading back in time and to a completely different arena of engagement for this mission. Tell us about it.
Well, Jax, in this mission we go back to Vietnam, 1969. That's a huge departure for Kuma War. Obviously we cover, mostly events in Iraq and Afghanistan, etc. We had to model the jungle, a river, and totally new for us is a gunboat.
How does the boat work?
Well, the boat will be easy to operate. If you've used other vehicles in Kuma War, the tank, the Stryker vehicle, and so on, it'll be very similar. The control will be left hand basically, guides you in terms of your direction through the water, and your right hand will basically operate its weapon systems.
What can we expect to learn about John Kerry and this mission from playing a video game?
Well, all of the controversy aside, Jax, what we will show here is the basic techniques, tactics, and operational reality of the PCF boats in Vietnam. John Kerry was a part of those crews. We'll take you through the events that day when John Kerry was awarded the Silver Star, and you'll just see firsthand and be able to experience and play it as normal exactly what that whole event was about.
Thank you, Dante. While the race for the White House has brought many of John Kerry's Vietnam-era activities into the spotlight and into question, the actions for which he earned his Silver Star seem to hold up in the wake of intense scrutiny. But perhaps more importantly, the current political din has given us reason to recall and commemorate acts of valor of many of the forgotten heroes of Vietnam, including the Swifties. For Kuma Reality Games, I'm Jackie Scheckman.